Hey, I'm Doug. This is Backcountry Pilgrim, a channel devoted to hiking, backpacking, camping in the Camino de Santiago. Well, it's been kind of a bummer time for those of us that are into the outdoors because, we've been kind of stuck inside, supposed to be social distancing and all that stuff. So I'm very excited because today I'm getting a virtual visit from my buddies over at Mark Goes Hiking and As the Crow Flies. And we're going to be hanging out and talking about gear. So anyway, I'm a little nervous because, it's been a long time since I've had visitors and it's been a long time since I've talked to anybody. It's kind of been a long time since I've done much of anything. I'm sure it'll be fine though. What could go wrong, right? Huh. Okay, I'm meeting the guys pretty soon. See, I got my pack, got my shoes, I need my stove. Where's my stove? Where's my stove? It was just here. I don't know. Long sleeve, short sleeve. Should I even go with red? I mean, what if the other guys are wearing red? We are talking gear. Me and Mark Goes Hiking and As the Crow Flies. We're just going to kind of talk about some of our favorite pieces of gear and why we chose what we chose. We're going to split this conversation up and we're going to share it between our three channels. This is my segment. We are going to discuss backpack, cook system, and hydration. All right, well, I'll get things rolling. Anyone that knows my channel knows that I had quite the odyssey picking out my backpack. I had backpacked a long time ago and I had a lot of gear, but it was getting pretty old and it wasn't really up to today's standards. And when I decided to walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain, I kind of used that as an excuse to get back into backpacking, buy all new stuff. I have other videos where you can look at that. But what I picked eventually was this baby right here, the Osprey Atmos AG50. AG stands for anti-gravity. Osprey's an awesome brand, lifetime warranty. They're just, bomb-proof packs. The main reason that I picked this one was that because unlike all the other packs I tried, the suspension system was just out of this world. And if you've ever tried the anti-gravity pack system, you probably know. But basically this webbing back here, kind of the standard trampoline mesh, the secret to the anti-gravity is that it extends onto the hip belt. And so what ends up happening is you basically have this trampoline mesh all the way around you up to your hip bones and on your back. And it literally makes the backpack float. So what's cool about it is, you can get a lot of stuff in there. I don't have a lot of really ultra lightweight gear right now, and I wasn't planning on spending a lot of money in getting it for the Camino. So I needed something that I could really stuff full and not kill myself on, especially as I was getting back into it. I wanted something around 40 or 50 liters. If you take the lid off this thing, it's basically a 40-liter pack, but it is built, to carry a lot more than that. Now the thing weighs 67 ounces. It's pretty heavy. That's like almost 4.5 pounds. The extra pound or two that I allowed myself to get for this pack helped me carry a lot more than that. So, basically for the weight cost of a bottle of water, I got the most comfortable pack. So that's the one I'm rocking right now. I do have a Mountain Smith Zert 40 that I use for shorter, like day hike kind of things. But for my big loads, that's the pack I chose. They build them with really, really good materials. That's why they're not ultralight. I mean, they have some ultralight versions of their packs. I would say most ultralight backpackers wouldn't necessarily consider those ultralight because they're not like at the very bottom of the scale. But they don't cheap out on stuff. Big burly zippers. I mean, they're very strong packs.
So it's interesting that you chose an Osprey because I actually did too. Although I don't know if this is my favorite pack, but it's the pack I go to the most, and that is the Osprey Levity 60. And I actually just got off the trail this weekend and I used this, and it's got the trampoline mesh on the back as well. In fact, there's a lot of space in this one. I think that's pretty typical of the Osprey, which I like a lot because it keeps your back a lot drier. I have a Deuter pack as well, and that has a very limited internal frame, which I can't even really feel it, but I know it has, I think, a Y-frame construction inside. But it sits flat on your back, and my back gets really sweaty when I wear that pack. So I really, really enjoy the option on the Osprey packs to have that gap there. Other than that, the reason I use this is because I do like to get into ultralight backpacking. And this pack weighs 2 pounds. Again, it's 60 liters. It's probably way more than I need because I have a lot of space left in this pack. But one of the things I do like about it is it's got this whole big pouch in the front. It's not stretchy, but there's a lot of room in it. And so I was in 3.5 hours of rain on my first day of the hike this past weekend. And my raincoat at night when it stopped raining, and then when I slept, went into the front pouch of the pack. And then in the morning, it had rained all night. The rain fly of my tent was pretty wet, so I actually put that in the front as well, which keeps everything else dry. It's not waterproof, so you got to put a dry sack inside it, which works fine. But you can put the water bottles in the side, so while you're hiking, you can just easily grab the water bottle. It's one big compartment down the middle, which I really like a lot. It does have a brain on the top. I actually don't love the brains on backpacks, but I'm yet to buy one that doesn't have that. So it's a good pack. I got this on sale for $200, so it was really worth it. And it's been good. One negative, it squeaks like crazy. So I got to figure that out yet. So go Osprey. That's 2 out of 2.
So my pack is the Gossamer Gear Mariposa. It's a 60-liter pack, and I bought it primarily because I saw that it had this great side pocket that went higher than the other side pocket. So at the time, I had a tent that would work, that would go down into that pocket perfectly. And so I got it primarily for that, but I also had heard real good things about Gossamer Gears, how it carries weight, and that it had these extra pockets on the side, a smaller pocket. So I put my hydration stuff up here, and then it has good pockets on the side for 2 1-liter water bottles. It's got a really nice, big, stretchy pocket on the back, and after 2.5 years, I still don't have any holes in it. So I really like the durability of it. It has a frame, and so I was really happy that it had a frame. But you can see the cushion, it kind of matches the Osprey in the cushion of the pads on the straps. The only downside was that it had a really thin foam pad for the back, but then Gossamer Gear upgraded their pad and came out with this sit pad that is a little bit better pad, and it gives you a little more cushion. To tell you the truth though, after 2.5 years, I'm probably going to go to something like Doug has with the anti-gravity. I've really had no problems with the Mariposa. I mean, it comes in at 30 ounces, so, and it does have like the U-shape frame on it, so it does have a frame, so I'm happy with it. I haven't really had any problems. I do want, and I guess I'll keep looking, but I do want something that keeps that airflow away from my back, because even with the new sit pad, I mean, I noticed even a hike this weekend, I was sweating, and of course it is Alabama weather, so it was 85 degrees, but I'd like to have that away from my back like the Osprey does.
All right, so moving on to cookware. What do we do when we get into the camp and it's time to eat? What I've got is this system right here, and this is a Toaks. This is the 1100 milliliter. I wanted something big enough to get my fuel can in, and also like if I'm bringing my kids or something with me, I didn't want to have to worry about space. So what I've got in here is the fuel can. I've got the titanium pot. This particular one has a little pan as the lid. And then this little guy right here is my stove, and this is the BRS 3000 or whatever. That little guy right there, that's the whole stove. It weighs like 2 ounces.
Did you have to pay extra for the green bag? Because mine's in a black bag.
I know a guy.
I got the green bag too, Mark, so
What? I'm totally getting
Oh, the green bag really makes it. I mean, I don't know that this stove would really be worth anything without the green bag. Sorry, Mark. I also have the Toaks titanium long-handled spoon. However, what I brought with me here is this spork spoon thing that I've never used that I can remember. And the reason is I can't find my Toaks long-handled spoon. Now, the reason I think this is funny is that on several mistakes I've made hiking or regret videos that some of these hiking YouTube people have put out, almost every single one of them says something about losing their spoon. And so for quite a while now, I've always like responded jokingly about like, what is it with you guys losing your spoon? How hard is it to keep a spoon? Ha ha ha. So this morning I'm putting all my gear together for this video. I have dumped out 3 bins of stuff. I cannot find my spoon. I didn't even use it. I took it on my last backpacking trip and I know it made it back. So I guess this is karma or God, you know, judging me for pride. But I have lost my spoon in my house. So I don't know what to do about that. Hopefully one of you guys have one.
So this is really funny that you say that, because I just went on my trip and I was just looking through my stuff right now, getting out my cook gear to show it to you guys. And I put my spoon in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag with my trash because it had food on it from eating. I think it's in my trash can outside right now.
You gotta go dumpster diving, man.
I have to go dumpster diving. I sure do. That's exactly where it is. I have the original BRS 3000 black bag, and mine says outsmart. It's funny about the BRS is I think it has probably 24 different companies that sell this exact stove, but I love it. I think this thing is money. I have had 0 issues with it. I use my MSR titanium pot. I think it's a 550 milliliter pot. I like it's got the handles that fold, which is really nice. And those don't ever get hot, which is really good. And then the lid has a little rubber coated handle, and it also stays on really nice. But it also pops off with ease. It's not like it's super tight where, you know, when you grab your handle and it's still on the stove and you go to pull off your lid, everything's going to spill. And what I really like, it's got the spout on here as well. So if you do want to pour something out of there, or if you happen to put a dehydrated meal in here and you realize maybe you have too much water, it's really easy to pour out some of that water without any food spilling out. And then I use one of the smaller canisters that go in there. I chose a pink lighter. My stove will fit in here. My instant coffees that I take on the trail. Put the lid on, good to go. So I'm pretty much the same thing, Doug and Mark. I have the BRS little stove, and I've had it for, I don't even remember when I got it, maybe 2 years ago. I don't exactly remember, but I've heard some people say they fail, but I've never had it fail, and until it fails, I'm gonna keep using it because it's just so light. I am also a Toaks carrier. I have the Toaks, but I have the 550, and I like the fact that Doug's got the larger one. I may get a second pot for a larger one because I have found that cooking ramen in this little 550 is somewhat of a chore. You got to make sure you got the right levels of water. I've got the Sea to Summit long spoon. One time I left it on a trip, kind of like what y'all were saying. I left it on a trip, and when we were driving out there, I realized I left it, and so I stopped by Walmart, and I still carry with me this little Ozark Trail 88-cent plastic spoon, long spoon, 88 cents. And I love this thing. I carry it as a backup because I've heard the stories about people losing their spoon. But that's my setup.
All right, well, speaking of water, we got to talk hydration. What I do is I've got a Canuck, which is apparently the way you're supposed to say it, Canuck Vecto bag. What's cool about this bag is that it's got this wide opening at the bottom. So when you get to your water source, instead of having to like get it under there and hold it for a long time, like especially if you use like a smart water bottle or something, it's really, really hard to get the bottle to fill up. It can take a really super long time, or you're just kind of skimming along the surface. So what's great about this is it basically forms a scoop. You literally can just, in like 1 or 2 moves, fill this entire bag up. Then you just fold the top over, slide this guy across, and then bam, you've got a bag of water. Standard spout here, I use the Sawyer squeeze. So this will fit on here. So you could literally just kind of like have that, you can just drink right away. Or you can just pour it into something else. But basically this system is just so simple. I just keep it together and roll it up. And you know, there's my water purifier. Now on my solo backpacking trip a little while ago, I lost the O-ring inside of the Sawyer squeeze and nearly died. At least I thought I was going to nearly die. So I got some Aquamira tablets. So this is my backup. This is not what I would normally use, but if I find myself in a situation where my gear has failed, I want another way to take care of my water. And so these are these little water purifier tablets. Those are coming with me all the time from now on. If I'm just drinking water, I'll usually just get a smart water bottle because they're very light, but they're tough, and they also fit the Sawyer squeeze. But sometimes, honestly, I know this is like anathema when it comes to ultralight. If I'm like on a day hike or something, this is the Camelback chute. And what I like about it is that, kind of like a Nalgene, you've got the wide mouth, which makes it really easy to mix things, put different stuff in there. But then this one, the cap doubles as a drink spout, which you don't get with the Nalgenes. It's also magnetic so that it doesn't just flop around and beat you in the face. You're also not going to lose it. And then it's got its own carrier handle. This thing weighs in at 7 ounces. I mean, so it's almost half a pound. That's a lot of weight if you're going ultralight. But for me, if I'm just day packing it and I'm not carrying a lot anyway, this is so much more convenient than a smart water bottle, especially because I do a lot of mixes. I like to use like those little Neutralite tubes or Gatorade powder, and it's just almost impossible to not make a huge mess or spill or something with a little smart water bottle. So that's my hydration system.
Doug, it's interesting that you talked about the Sawyer squeeze. I think that's probably the most popular filter out on the trail. I also use the Sawyer squeeze. However, I do need to get a new one. After my last hike, I did not do a back flush on this thing. And when I took it out for my first hike of the year, I had no water flow whatsoever. I didn't even think to test it because I've never had issues before with it. I think for me, it's a reminder of always back flush your filter when you get done with your weekend trip. That's what these are for.
Yep.
What I also like too is with the sport caps on the Life Water bottles or the Smart bottles, those actually fit over that little hole really easily, and you can back flush while you're on the trail using those. So I'm kind of weird. I am kind of a paranoid guy. So I always do 2 different ways of water filtering every single time. So I always take the Sawyer squeeze, and I also will take the Asteri pen, the UV light pen as well. So that's why I have moved to the what I used to call CNOC until Doug has reminded me twice that it's Canuck.
Canuck.
So thank you. My first one got holes in it right away, right here at the seam. And I think it's because I was probably squeezing on it a little too hard, although the advertisement has somebody standing on it. But maybe they weigh like 10 pounds. However, I used it on this last weekend because I ordered 2 when I got them. And it worked really great. And just like you said, Doug, you dip it in the water twice. You've got pretty much a full bag. Asteri pen goes in here really easily. Attach the filter and let it rip. The nice thing when you do the little tablets, when you filter it, it'll filter out kind of that nasty taste. So if you want to be parasite free, like me, do 2 different ways.
So for me, it's basically the same thing. The only thing is I have the antique version of the CNOC. Canuck bag. I have the antique version in that it doesn't have the little holder for the cap, and I've almost lost that cap several times. I've almost seen it floating down the river and had to run down and grab it. And then it doesn't have the attachment to the top either, so I got to watch where I put it. And so I really need to upgrade and get another one of the Canuck bags.
Canuck.
And then I also use the Sawyer squeeze. I hadn't had it fail on me yet, but I am a lot like Mark in that I carry a Asteri pen too, just in case. I like the idea that Mark has with using the Asteri pen in the Canuck bag. I'm going to start doing that. So I carry one of these Sawyer bags with me. I always carry it as a backup. Maybe that's too much. Maybe I shouldn't, but I always carry it anyway, just in case. But I like the idea of carrying a Asteri pen as well, because you never know. Sawyer squeeze could go bad. You could bust your bag. You could lose it. You could lose the O-ring, like Doug said. I mean, I think a backup water filtration, I mean, that's your number one potential problem. So that's why I carry all that as well.
Get on to Mark Goes Hiking as the crow flies to see the rest of the conversation. Be sure you like and subscribe to their channels. These guys are awesome. And if you are visiting my channel, coming from one of theirs, go ahead and like and subscribe to mine too.
So I'm kind of weird. I am kind of a parasite.
Canuck.
I just got to smell fresh.
Canuck.
Take me to the trail, please. Take me to the trail.
Canuck.
Black bag.